Commission meeting. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance in a brief moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting has been noticed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. This commission acts in review and recommending capacity for designations and removal of historic properties and districts. The commission also reviews proposed National Register of Historic Places nominations. The commission has final decision-making authority on certificates of historic appropriateness. Good afternoon. My name is Donna Gardner. I am the vice chair. And to my right is Commissioner Anna Johnson, Commissioner Amy Gerard, and Commissioner Melanie Millar. To my left is Commissioner Michael German and Commissioner Brent Halverson. Also seated to my right is Assistant County Attorney Mark Bell. And seated to my left is Joel Evans, Director of Zoning and Planning. Joel, please introduce your staff.
Sure. Andrea Melisick-White, Deputy Director, is here. Emily Piggott, she'll be presenting cases today, and Monica Eustace will also be presenting, and Stephanie Ondo will be taking the votes today in the minutes.
Thank you, Joel. I would like to remind you that in order to get a good recording of the meeting for the minutes, please speak loudly and clearly into your microphones. The next agenda item is the approval of the minutes from the May 21st, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion and a second? The minutes, a motion has been made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Halverson?
Aye.
Commissioner German?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson? Vice Chair Gardner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gerard? Commissioner Millar? The ayes have it.
Thank you. The next agenda item is HIST 0525000137, a request for a certificate of historic appropriateness. Emily, please discuss.
Thank you very much. So as stated, this is a certificate of historic appropriateness request for the construction of a single-family dwelling unit with an attached garage at TMS 614-0000564, 3810 Tim Askew Lane, which is a property within the 10 Mile Community Historic District. So these two slides show all of the certificates of historic appropriateness applications that we have received thus far within the 10 Mile community. It's getting longer each meeting. And here's the applicant's project description. They describe that they're seeking to construct a 2,536 square foot, two-story single-family dwelling with attached garage. They also clarified that since no contributing resources have been identified within the 10 Mile Historic District, there are none known on the subject property. So here's the location of the property when we're looking at the county as a whole. And here is a map showing the location of the subject property. It's bordered by the southwest by the town of Mount Pleasant, and otherwise surrounded by properties also within the 10 Mile Community Historic District. Here you can see that location of the subject parcel when we're looking at the whole historic district. So there has been one CHA application that the commission has approved within 500 feet of the subject property. You can see that shown on this slide here in dark blue. And that application involved retroactive improvements to the rear of an existing single-family dwelling unit. You can see the approved site plan and improvements here. The 10 Mile community was designated as a historic district in Charleston County in June of 2022, and it was also recognized in the 2016 Charleston County Cultural Resources Survey update as a remnant freedmen community that has significant social organization and settlement patterns. The subject property is zoned Special Management S3, and it's currently undeveloped. The future land use designation for this property is Urban Suburban Cultural Community Protection. Properties to the north, south, east, and east are also zoned S3 and are undeveloped. The property to the west is within the town of Mount Pleasant, zoned R3, and it's in HOA open space area. And the subject property is within the AE11 and shaded X flood zones. So here is an aerial view of the subject property. And you can see that it is located at the end of Geneva Smalls Lane. However, Geneva Smalls Lane is not constructed. Therefore, this property owner has obtained an easement to cross their neighbor's property for access onto Tim Askew Lane. And you will see that illustrated later on the site plan. So here's a closer view of that subject property. And here is a site photo of the subject property. And these are photos of neighboring properties along Tim Askew and Misty Grass Court. And I just want to note that Misty Grass Court is not within the historic district. So here is that site plan showing the proposed new home and attached garage. And at the bottom left of this plan, you can see that access easement that'll be used to utilize Tim Askew Lane. And here is that same site plan overlaid on the aerial map, so you're able to get a sense of the house's orientation on the lot, and again, where they will be crossing their neighbor's property to access Tim Askew Lane. Here is the front elevation, the rear elevation, the right and the left elevations for the proposed home. In order for the CHA to be approved, all of the following approval criteria must be met. Starting with the first, staff believes that the designation by County Council of the 10 Mile Historic District did not specifically mention architectural character. However, the proposed site improvements are compatible with the outlined historic and cultural elements of significance within the 10 Mile Historic District. The existing homes along Tim Askew Lane were developed as affordable housing at a higher density and with smaller lot sizes than have been traditionally seen throughout this historic district. This street pattern is unique within the 10 Mile community, and the subject property is much larger at 0.68 of an acre and more closely aligns with the more common lot sizes seen historically within 10 Mile. With a much larger lot size and a setting far back from the right-of-way, the proposed home will not be overwhelming this streetscape. Additionally, despite having 2 stories, the home's layout is very horizontal, which creates a more sprawling feel and reduces the impact of the second-story massing. The inclusion of the wraparound porch creates a sense of connection between this home and many of those already existing within 10 Mile. No contributing resources have been designated within the 10 Mile Community Historic District. Therefore, this application must be evaluated using Section 21-5H3, Commission consideration. The proposed home does not appear to impact any of the notable features that the community outlined in the County Council designation. The design of the home, including height, scale, mass, and arrangement, appears compatible and complementary to the existing character, features, and elements of structures within the 10 Mile Historic District. Additionally, the applicant has demonstrated sensitivity to the natural beauty of the community, as well as their research into the historic district designation regarding the cultural and historic importance of the 10 Mile Community Historic District. No negative impacts have been identified, therefore this criterion has been met, staff feels. And based on all those responses, staff also feels that all of the approval criteria have been satisfied. Therefore, we are recommending approval with the following condition: that any major changes shall be processed pursuant to Section 21-5M, modifications to approved certificates of historic appropriateness within our historic preservation ordinance. We did receive 3 individual comments in support, as well as 1 petition with 38 signatures in support of this request. We did not receive any comments in opposition, and we did, of course, notice this meeting as required. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. We appreciate your staff's comprehensive report. Are there any questions for staff from commission members? Public comment.
2 people signed up, but only 1 checked to speak, so there'll just be 1 speaker. Tara Marshall, the applicant, I believe.
I think Emily did a really good job of explaining everything.
Let me just,
so-
I was going to say, before you continue, please state your name and address before giving any comments.
Tara Marshall, 2047 Ashburton Way. I agree with everything that Emily explained. I thought she did a really good job, so I have nothing to add.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was it.
Okay. Okay, if there are no further public comments, this case is now closed to public comment. Before discussion, is there a motion and second from the commission?
Go ahead.
We just need a motion so that we can start in a second before we start discussion.
There was a motion made.
I didn't hear.
Oh, did you state your reason?
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't hear.
Put your, there you go. Yep.
And Mr. German seconded it, so we're good on a motion.
Okay.
So we can have discussion if you want to, or go into vote, however you want to do it.
We do need the reasoning.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Shouldn't even be up there.
I have a question about the easement. Are the neighbors that own, well, obviously they're not built on lots, but are the people aware of
Yeah.
this easement?
I can answer that for you. Yes, they had to give permission in order to obtain that access easement. So yes, that has already been addressed, and it's actually already been recorded in the Register of Deeds as well. So, yeah, it's in place. Thank you for asking.
Because it looks like they lost, not a substantial amount of property, but they are being,
That's
impacted.
Civil matter that they work out amongst themselves.
Okay.
And sorry, can we go back to the motion and go ahead and give the reasons so that that's on the record? Yeah. And, yeah, please, yeah, thank you, Emily, yeah.
All right, so I move for approval to accept the project that was presented, and I feel that there's no negative impacts to the historical district. Also, the proposed site improvements do not decrease the historical integrity of the properties containing identified contributing resources.
Thank you.
And do you accept that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Is there any further discussion from commission members?
I think so.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, it is now time for the vote.
Commissioner Halverson? Aye. Commissioner German?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Gardner? Commissioner Gerard?
Aye.
Commissioner Millar? The ayes have it.
Thank you. This is the final decision of the Historic Preservation Commission. If any person with a substantial interest in a decision of the Historic Preservation Commission chooses to appeal this decision, they may do so to the Circuit Court of Charleston County. Such appeal shall be filed within 30 calendar days after today's date. The next agenda item is HIST-04-25-00135, a request for a certificate of historic appropriateness. Monica, please review.
This certificate of historic appropriateness request is for the construction of a single-family detached dwelling unit with attached garage at TMS 614-00-00-271, 977 Bellas Lane, a property within the 10 Mile Community Historic District. Since the designation of the 10 Mile Community as a Charleston County Historic District, 31 applications for certificates of historic appropriateness have been received to date. The 10 Mile Community was recognized in the 2016 Charleston County Cultural Resources Survey update as a remnant freedmen community having significant social organization and settlement patterns. Recent applications to this property include the designation of the 10 Mile Community as a historic district in June of 2022 and the approved removal of 3 hazardous grand trees on the site in February of this year. Here's the location of the subject property when looking at the county as a whole. This map shows the subject property's location off Bellas Lane in the 10 Mile Community Historic District. This map shows the property's location within the 10 Mile Community Historic District. And this map shows the location of approved certificates of historic appropriateness within 500 feet of the subject parcel, which are outlined in blue. Approved certificates of historic appropriateness within 500 feet of the subject property include 942 Beehive Road, HIST 09-23-00100, approved on January 17, 2024, a 1,500 square foot single-family home. And this is the approved site plan for 942 Beehive Road, showing the single-family detached dwelling unit on the lot. The other approved CHA is 973 Bellas Lane, which was HIST 10-24-00117, approved on November 20th, 2024, for a 2,555 square foot single-family home. And this is the approved site plan for 973 Bellas Lane, showing the single-family detached dwelling unit on the lot. The applicant is proposing to construct a 3,145 square foot, 2-story, single-family detached dwelling unit with attached garage on the vacant property at 977 Bellas Lane. The total impervious surface coverage for the lot will be 26%. The subject property is zoned Special Management S3 and is undeveloped. The future land use designation is Urban Suburban Cultural Community Protection. Surrounding properties to the north, east, west, and south are also zoned S3 and contain either single-family dwelling units or are undeveloped. The subject property is in the AE11 flood zone. Here is an aerial view of the subject property. And these are photos of the subject property off Bellas Lane. These are photos of the surrounding properties at 987 and 973 Bellas Lane. And these are photos of the neighboring properties at 953 and 965 Bellas Lane. This is the proposed site plan showing the floor plan on the lot with the 3 existing grand trees that are dying and have been approved for removal by staff arborist Kyle Foster. This is the aerial map with the proposed site plan overlaid for context. Here's the proposed front and rear elevations and the proposed left and right elevations. Staff response to the first criteria is that there was no mention of architectural character in the 10 Mile Community Historic District designation made by County Council. The applicant is requesting permission to build a 2-story detached single-family home. The house features elements that are reminiscent of the craftsman and farmhouse styles seen throughout the 10 Mile Community Historic District, such as covered front porch with square columns, gabled roof, board and batten siding, and a garage facing the street. Home sizes in this section of the district vary from 1,074 to over 3,900 square feet. The proposed house is in line with current development at 3,145 square feet. Therefore, the proposed site improvements are compatible with the existing community. Staff response to the second criteria is, since there are no recognized contributing resources in the 10-mile Community Historic District, Section 21-5H3 Commission consideration should be used to assess this application. None of the community's noteworthy characteristics listed in the County Council designation seem to be impacted by the proposed house. It does seem similar in design and appearance to the recently approved home at 973 Bellas Lane, which is next door to this lot. Homes of similar design are not traditionally seen in the community adjacent to each other as the area historically developed more organically in terms of architecture. These are the front elevations of the proposed home at 977 Bellas Lane on top and the approved home next door at 973 Bellas Lane on the bottom. Staff response to the third criteria is no negative impacts to the 10-mile Community Historic District have been identified. Therefore, this criterion has been met. Based on the applicant's responses, the applicable approval criteria may not have been satisfied. Therefore, staff recommends deferral to the application to allow the applicant time to propose changes to the form and/or design to differentiate it from the previously approved home at 973 Bellas Lane. If the commission votes to approve the application at today's meeting, staff recommends the following conditions shall apply. All major changes shall be processed pursuant to Section 21-5M, modifications to approved certificates of historic appropriateness of the Historic Preservation Ordinance. 3 comments in opposition and 1 petition in opposition with 38 signatures were received. No comments in support were received. This meeting was noticed as required. And here are the approval criteria for a certificate of historic appropriateness.
Thank you, Monica. We appreciate the staff's comprehensive report. Are there any questions for staff from commission members? I actually have a question. Your proposal regarding the applicable criteria that may not have been satisfied, what specifically were you looking to address?
We felt that the second approval criteria has not been satisfied because the portion of the ordinance that should be used to assess this one, since there are no contributing resources in 10 Mile, have not been met. This portion of the ordinance is commission consideration. And the design of the proposed home is similar in design to that of the approved home that is right on the lot next door.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions for staff from commission members?
I'm just curious, is the square footage comparable? I see the designs comparable. Is the square footage comparable to the next door property? I noticed there's one that's 3,900. Is that the, no?
No, that's an existing home. This one is 3,145 square feet,
Yeah, got that.
and the previous approved one on the lot next door was 3145.
They're both,
I'm sorry, 3145 is the one that we're talking about today. The previous one is 2555.
25, so considerably larger.
600 square feet smaller. Thank you.
Do any commissioners have any additional questions for staff?
I want to ask
Yeah.
a question, just to go back to the reference of what is already in the community as far as square footage. So it's only one house we're talking about somewhere in the community that meets the 3,900 square feet. Everything else is far beyond that. I mean, less than that.
There's a house next door that is 3,900 square feet. This blue
Oh,
house.
that one is
at-
next door?
Yes.
And that's the only one in the
this
community?
vicinity, not in the neighborhood.
One's on one side, one's on the other side, is that what we're saying here?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further questions from commissioners? Any additional questions for staff? Okay. We will now hear public comment on this matter.
And there were two people that signed up to speak, and both checked the box that they would like to speak. So the applicant, Bill Brodsky, is first, and Craig Askew will be second.
Thank you. Please come forward. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address before giving your comments.
Hi, my name is Bill Brodsky. I am the applicant. My address is 690 Barbados Drive in Charleston. I see the writing on the wall here, so I'm not going to fight it. I don't agree. I think mine is diverse, but we can always talk about that with staff. So with that being said, and they asked for deference, all I'm asking for is the deference till the next meeting. And then I'll pick it up with the staff, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Questions for the speaker? Anna?
Yes, so I think that, are you thinking about decreasing the size of this?
I could tweak it a little bit. I don't know how I can do it, but I could figure it out. I'm not really, it doesn't have the size of it doesn't have a negative impact overall to that immediate community. I think what the issue here is that the staff considers the house very similar in nature to the one I'm already constructing right now. So that's, I think, what the best idea would be, is to go back, have a meeting again with the staff, and figure out how to differ it so it has a different look. I probably will be in here, might be at the same time, and that's up to the staff, with the one on the left, which is 969. So going down from that blue house is 965. Then there's a vacant lot, which is 969. Then there's 973, which we already have approval on. What's that?
That was your time was expired, but you
Oh.
have, you have like,
I'm
we'll give
sorry.
you another 30
I
seconds.
thought there was like an emergency.
Please continue.
Then there's 969, which is vacant lot, which I have an application for right now in front of the staff. Then there's 973, which I'm constructing. Then there's 977, which is the one that we're here for today. And then there's a fourth lot, which is 987. So all four of those I eventually will look to develop. But right now, I am doing 973, and I have the application in front of your board for 977. So I think by the time I get to the next meeting, I should be at 969 and 977, which are on both sides of 973. All right? My preference would be, I want to work in accordance with the board, with the staff. So I'd rather go back to the staff, have a meeting, get on deferred to the next meeting, and straighten myself out so I get a positive response. My feeling is from the local community, no matter what I do, I'm going to have negative, I'm going to have an opposition, so it doesn't matter. But if I work with the community, I want to work. I said this last time I was in front of the board. I want to work with the community. I've met a bunch of people in the 10-mile community. They're great people. If I can do anything to help on other matters as well, I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoy working in 10 Mile. So my request then is just if I can defer myself to the next meeting.
Thank you. We
So,
appreciate your comments.
Emily, can you please
Yeah.
go over with us
So-
the schedule and the timeline for applications and everything?
Yeah, our filing deadline for the July meeting was 2.5 weeks ago, and we send out our notifications next week. So we will not be able to do the July meeting, especially since there will have to be some meeting and some conversations, it sounds like, about the design. So August would be the next available meeting.
But I still would be on for the 969, right? Because I'm
Yeah,
filed
that,
within the
that
time.
is not, yeah, that doesn't have to do with this application.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
I want to thank you for your willingness to work on this and to defer until the August meeting. And I think at the July meeting, you already have a mindset of what you would like, probably what you'll present to us for that next particular build. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, 969, you'll see when I come back, is substantively different. It has, like, in the front, it has a sloping roof with dormers in it, and a very high-peaked area over the garage, which I've been told many times, and when I've met with different people from the 10-mile community, especially some of the older people in the 10-mile community, the older houses that they had designed many, many years ago, a lot of them had very steep 10 on 12, 12 on 12 pitched roofs, and that's what I proposed here. So it's a far different look. It has I don't know if anybody knows, but it has a salt box roof, all right? So it has a very much different look to it than either one of the 973 or 977. So I'm hoping that in the next meeting, in the July meeting, I get the approval on 969, and then I'll work with the board to figure out how to modify everything in order to do 977. All right. 987 has its own problems, which I'm working with the county DPW. There's a drainage easement on it, and they're going to abandon it, so that's a little bit down the road.
Altogether, will you be 4?
There's 4 vacant lots at the end of Bellis. What I've done with Bellis and what I promised to do with 965 and 953 is that when I came in there, it was like a herding stoned road. And I upgraded the whole road, and I restoned the entire road and made it all graded. So right now, what happened many, many times on, even when I was the contract purchaser on the property, on the heavy rains that we were getting, Bellis Lane was flooding, and flooding badly. So now, and then when you drive through it, you'd go in the mud, all right, and your tires would go in the mud. But now, since we restoned the whole road, there's no more water sitting in there. We put the drainage channel that goes out to Lucian on the opposite side of the road. So really, we've upgraded, as I promised the Roberts and 953, Gail and Gloria, that I would upgrade the road, and we pretty much have. We only have one small problem on the road right now, and it's almost all being taken care of, is that there's a telephone pole right smack in the middle of the right-of-way. And I am working with Berkeley Electric and Xfinity to have their wires removed from that one pole, and then the pole will go, and then the road, the entire road, toward the end, will, with a turnaround on a half of a cul-de-sac, you'll be able to drive up the road, turn around, and come right back out. And now, instead of being a dirt road or a very poor stone road, you can actually pass 2 cars at one time. So it still has that very, what I would call southern charm, where the trees are grown over the road and everything. It's a stone road, so it doesn't overwhelm anybody. So I think that the road looks very, very nice right now, and it's much more feasible because there's no more flooding. We've had some really heavy rains recently, and I drove in there right after it rained hard, no water at all. So it's working. The whole road is working. As I said, my interest is to work with everybody, and that's why I'm asking for the deference, so I can end up working with the board, so the staff board, so I can make it a better presentation.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker.
Our next speaker,
Craig Askew.
you will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address before giving your comments.
My name is Craig Askew. I live at 987 Gadsdenville Road. Thank you guys for serving on the HPC. I do support Mr. Brodsky's project as I listened to him talk. At first, when he first started talking, I wasn't so enthusiastic, but when he started talking about the salt box and the domers and the tree promenade, now I know he kind of understands some of the values in architecture and the landscapes that we find in Gullah communities. So, and he's being patient, so that part. The other thing I'd like to say to you guys is that hopefully sometime soon, this commission or this committee could have a meeting with all of the settlement communities, as many of them possible, to understand more what the intrinsic values are in Gullah Geechee communities. And what I mean by that is too many times I've heard that, there's no intrinsic value, no noteworthy characteristics, but there are. And because settlement communities are not densely populated, and we're not openly talking and outwardly going people in the community, you won't know unless you come into our community to see and talk to the people who live there. That way you guys have a better understanding of what the values are. They're in the land, the trees, the dirt, the waterways, the plant, vegetation, and the people. So I would encourage you guys to meet with the people in the communities, and they can tell you their stories and about how they lived in the communities with the trees, with the waterways, and with the land, and look at the very few houses that they do have and how they built them and how they created value in their communities. So I would challenge you to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Askew, I'm not sure if you're aware that we have been out to your community, and we actually spent an entire afternoon driving around, and we spent a lot of time and actually have spoken to a lot of the residents. So I just want you to know that we are aware, and we do find that to be valuable.
Very good.
Okay?
You also told me I'd, put something on the grill.
But we did. We spent a nice day out there, and it was really very advantageous, and enjoyed it.
If I could just respond, again, these Gullah communities are very collective communities, and I appreciate your taking the time individually, but again, I'd like to see people engage a conversation, if you will. And the Gullah, the settlement community term, these are Gullah Geechee people. And it's very important that we use the correct term to refer to the right people. Otherwise, they get misrepresented and mischaracterized. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Let's see, do we have any other speakers?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So this case is now closed to public comment. Before discussion, is there a motion and second from the commission?
I'd like to make a motion to defer
Second.
this case until the August, I believe you said, Emily, is that correct? Meeting, on the premise that he will look into the suggestions that have been recommended by staff, which are really appreciated. So I would like to make that motion.
I'll second that.
A motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion from commission members?
I'd like to state too that I appreciate the applicant's willingness to go back and work with the staff. He realizes, the changes that he needs to make, and I just look forward to him bringing a view the next time.
Is there any further discussion? Thank you, Commissioner, for your comments. Okay, if there's no further discussion, it is now time for the vote.
Commissioner Halverson,
Aye.
Commissioner German,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, Vice Chair Gardner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gerard. Commissioner Millar. The ayes have it.
This is the final decision of the Historic Preservation Commission. If any person with a substantial interest in a decision of the Historic Preservation Commission chooses to appeal this decision, they may do so to the Circuit Court of Charleston County. Such appeal shall be filed within 30 calendar days after today's date. The next agenda item is HIST-05-25-00138, a request for a certificate of historic appropriateness. Monica, please discuss.
This certificate of historic appropriateness request is for the installation of an in-ground swimming pool at TMS 614-00-00-082, 965 Beehive Road, a property within the 10 Mile Community Historic District. Since the designation of the 10 Mile Community as a Charleston County Historic District, 31 applications for certificates of historic appropriateness have been received to date. The 10 Mile Community was recognized in the 2016 Charleston County Cultural Resources Survey update as a remnant freedmen community having significant social organization and settlement patterns. Here's the location of the subject property when looking at the county as a whole. This map shows the subject property's location off Beehive Road in the 10 Mile Community Historic District. This map shows the property's location within the 10 Mile Community Historic District. And this map shows the location of the approved certificates of historic appropriateness within 500 feet of the subject parcel, which are outlined in blue. Approved certificates of historic appropriateness within 500 feet of the subject property include 942 Beehive Road, HIST 09-23-00100, approved on January 17, 2024, a 1,500 square foot single-family home. This is the approved site plan for 942 Beehive Road, showing the single-family detached dwelling unit on the lot. And the other certificate of historic appropriateness within 500 feet is 973 Bellas Lane, HIST 10-24-00117, approved on November 20th, 2024, a 2,555 square foot single-family home. And this is the approved site plan for 973 Bellas Lane, showing the single-family detached dwelling unit on the lot. The applicant is proposing to install an in-ground swimming pool behind the existing home at 965 Beehive Road. A 6-foot privacy fence and native plants and landscaping will be used to further conceal the pool. The new total impervious surface coverage for the lot with the addition of the pool will be 28.6%. The subject property is zoned Special Management S3 and is the site of a single-family dwelling unit. The future land use designation is urban suburban cultural community protection. Surrounding properties to the north, east, west, and south are also zoned S3 and contain either single-family dwelling units or are undeveloped. The subject property is in the AE11 flood zone. Here is an aerial view of the subject property. And this is a photo of the subject property off Beehive Road. These are photos of the surrounding properties at 959 and 971 Beehive Road. This is the proposed site plan showing the placement of the in-ground pool in the right rear corner of the property. Because the pool is considered an accessory structure, it is allowed to encroach into the side and rear setbacks up to 3 feet. This is the aerial map with the proposed site plan overlaid for context. The pool area is circled in red. Staff response to the first criteria is that swimming pools are an allowed use. The 10 Mile Community Historic District has few examples of in-ground swimming pools, but none of them are directly in relation to the subject parcel. However, the request is in keeping with the Historic District's character, since the 10 Mile community is recognized for its outdoor recreation areas. Staff response to the second criteria is, since there are no recognized contributing resources in the 10 Mile Community Historic District, Section 21-5H3 Commission consideration should be used to assess this application. None of the community's noteworthy characteristics included in the County Council classification seem to be affected by this plan. With the introduction of the privacy fence, the pool will not be visible from the right-of-way, and the proposed pool will have a negligible impact on the existing streetscape. Staff response to the third criteria is that no negative impacts to the 10 Mile Community Historic District have been identified. Therefore, this criterion has been met. Based on the applicant's responses, we believe that the application meets the approval criteria. Therefore, staff recommends approval with the following condition: that all major changes shall be processed pursuant to Section 21-5M, modifications to approve certificates of historic appropriateness of the Historic Preservation Ordinance. 3 comments in opposition, 1 petition in opposition with 38 signatures, and no comments in support were received. This meeting was noticed as required. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. We appreciate the staff's comprehensive report. Are there any questions for staff from commission members? Hearing none, we will now hear public comment.
Let's see, 3 people signed up to speak. The first 2 are the applicants. Tracy Nichols.
Please come forward. Your comments will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address before giving your comments.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Tracy Nichols. My husband Matthew is with me here. We reside at 965 Beehive Road, and we're just in favor of the pool. That's really all we have to comment on.
Thank you. And your husband's name?
Matthew Nichols.
Thank you. Same address?
Same.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yeah.
The pool, it initially says it's behind the house, which I see it is, but it's still over to the side. Will the fence be constructed before the pool?
We actually just had it installed on this past Saturday, so it's a 6-foot privacy fence.
Okay, so it will hide all the construction?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any further questions for our speakers from commissioners?
Dave Sexton?
Thank you.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah.
Please come forward. You have 2 minutes for comments. Please state your name and address.
Thank you. Dave Sexton, 4637 Shawnee Street. And I just wanted to come today to express support and to ask for your consideration to approve the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions for the speaker?
I'm just curious your relation to the applicant?
I represent Heritage Pools.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for speakers that signed up.
Thank you. This case is now closed to public comment. Before discussion, is there a motion and second from the commission? When making a motion, please cite your specific criteria.
I'll move to approve. I believe that the application meets our approval criteria in 21-5I, sections 1 and 2, I believe are fulfilled because there's other pools in the community. You won't be able to see it from the road, and there's a privacy fence criteria 3 doesn't apply because there's no negative impacts. So for those reasons, I would move to approve.
I would second that motion based on the same requirements being accommodations, especially the fence being up, so.
The motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion from commission members?
A comment. I have a concern that the community sent, I think it's 39, how many?
38
38
signatures?
signatures in opposition.
Right.
So to me, the community is saying that they no longer want to have future pools in the area. And I know that we're hearing there is some already in the area, a pool already. How many, are we talking about 1, 2, many?
I don't have an exact number for you. I can tell you that
It's
the
not prevalent.
the closest one is about 0.6 of a mile away. So, and you just approved one that was less than, I think it's a half a mile away on Nelson View in February.
I think guys.
I do just want to remind the commission that pools are an allowed accessory use in this area, so it is allowed by right in the zoning. So we would not be able to be looking at the use. That's not in the purview of this commission, just be the design.
Okay, all right.
And I will add, Emily, to that, we are in the process of doing an overlay district for the 10-mile community, and if the community chooses to limit or not have swimming pools as a use, that would be the proper venue and place in the overlay zoning district to make that statement. We, the next time we go out to the community, we will pose that question to see if the community does not, would rather not allow pools as an accessory use, and if that's the case, we will run it through the proper process to get the zoning changed, if that's the desire of the community.
And I think from my memory, the last time when we talked about this, the community was not in agreement with that. That's my concern. So I understand they can do this change of what the community wants by the overlay district, and hopefully they understand that. But for right now, I think I have to go along with what their wishes are.
Thank you. I actually had a question. I know a motion has already been made, but I do see that the staff had also indicated that the application met the approval criteria, which was part of what was mentioned in the motion, but they also recommended a particular condition pursuant to Section 21-5M modifications to approve certificates of historic appropriateness. Was there anything specific in that you wanted to add?
No, that's just our general language,
Okay.
and it helps applicants understand that if they're planning to make extensive changes to what you all looked at and approved, there is a threshold for what, might be able to be approved at the staff level, and otherwise things would have to have a new CHA
Okay,
and approval from you all.
thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion, it is now time for the vote.
Commissioner Halverson,
Aye.
Commissioner German. Commissioner Johnson,
Nay.
Vice Chair Gardner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gerard. Aye. Commissioner Millar. The ayes have it.
This is the final decision of the Historic Preservation Commission. If any person with a substantial interest in a decision of the Historic Preservation Commission chooses to appeal this decision, they may do so to the Circuit Court of Charleston County. Such appeal shall be filed within 30 calendar days after today's date. The next agenda item is HIST-05-25-00136, a request for a certificate of historic appropriateness. Monica, please discuss.
This certificate of historic appropriateness request is for the installation of an elevated swimming pool at TMS 577-00-00-082 at 1653 Boston Grill Road, a property within the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District. Since the designation of the Hamlin Beach community as a Charleston County Historic District, 2 applications for certificates of historic appropriateness have been received to date. The Hamlin Beach community was recently adopted by Charleston County as a locally designated historic district on January 14, 2025, covering roughly 293 acres at adoption. Founded on former plantation land, the community was established in 1881 when land was subdivided into 30 10-acre lots sold to prior enslaved individuals. Here is the location of the subject property when looking at the county as a whole. This map shows the subject property's location off Boston Grill Road in the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District. Here's a map showing the property's location within the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District. And there have been no approved certificates of historic appropriateness application within 500 feet of the subject property. The applicant is proposing to construct a 528 square foot elevated swimming pool on the residence at 1653 Boston Grill Road. The pool will match the height of the existing deck and will be 1 story in height. The pool will be located on the home's rear deck and will not be visible from the street. The total impervious surface coverage will be 21.1%. The subject property is zoned Special Management S3 and is the site of a single-family dwelling unit. The future land use designation is Urban Suburban Cultural Community Protection. All surrounding properties are zoned S3 and contain single-family dwelling units or are undeveloped. The subject parcel is in the VE flood zone. Here is an aerial view of the subject property. This is a photo of the subject property off Boston Grill Road. These are photos of the surrounding properties at 1637 and 1652 Boston Grill Road. These are photos of the 2 closest contributing resources at 1552 and 1565 Boston Grill Road. The significant influence religion had on the lives of the community's first settlers is exemplified at God's Way Healing and Worship Center at 1552 Boston Grill Road, while Benjamin's Sweet Shop at 1565 Boston Grill Road represents how commercial structures were integrated into the community fabric. These sites are more than a quarter mile away from the subject property. This map shows the nearby contributing resources of God's Way Healing and Worship Center, Benjamin's Sweet Shop, and the Deliverance Tabernacle. This is the proposed site plan showing the floor plan of the elevated pool on the lot. And this is the aerial map with the proposed site plan overlaid for context. The pool area is circled in red. This is the proposed rear elevation showing the elevated pool. These are the proposed left and right elevations with the pool area called out. Staff response to the first criteria is that swimming pools are uncommon in the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District, therefore there isn't much precedence for them. However, they are an allowed use. There aren't many pools at the moment, and only one is close to the property in question. The elevated positioning of the proposed pool would make it unique. Nonetheless, the request is in keeping with the Historic District's character because the Hamlin Beach community places a high priority on its outdoor entertainment areas. Staff response to the second criteria is the nearest contributing resources to the subject property are the Benjamin Sweet Shop at 1565 Boston Grill Road and God's Way Healing and Worship Center at 1552 Boston Grill Road. These sites are more than a quarter mile away. Further, the pool is situated fully behind the house and will not be visible from the street or from the nearby contributing resources. For these reasons, the planned site modifications would not have an impact on or diminish the historic integrity of the contributing resources or the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District. Staff response to the third criteria is that no negative impacts to the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District have been identified. Therefore, this criterion has been met. Based on the applicant's responses, we believe the application criteria meets the approval, the application meets the approval criteria. Therefore, staff recommends approval with the following condition: that all major changes shall be processed pursuant to Section 21-5M, modifications to approve certificates of historic appropriateness of the Historic Preservation Ordinance. No comments in support or opposition were received, and this meeting was noticed as required. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. We appreciate the staff's comprehensive report. Are there any questions for staff from commission members? Hearing none, we will now hear public comment.
No one signed up to speak for this case.
Okay.
This case is now closed to public comment. Before discussion, is there a motion and second from the commission? When making your motion, please cite how you are, the reason for your motion based on the criteria.
Donna, can I go back to, is it okay to ask a question for staff?
Yes.
I'm assuming that because it is a VE flood zone, that it obviously is allowed, elevated pools are allowed, is that correct? Otherwise, that would be part of the whole concern, okay. So just go from that point. But there are no elevated pools in this particular, there's one, it's elevated,
No, there's another pool.
but it's in ground.
I believe so, yes.
I think that's important to know. And I understand about the zoning and the architecture, and I get that. Thank you.
I've got a comment too on that. I got it. Looking at the design of the house, and this pool is going to be elevated, and I think the house looked like it sits about 12 feet off the ground, so the pool would be kind of developed or wrapped around the house itself, so you won't see that. There you go. Okay, yeah, I get it. It won't be seen from Boston Grove Road. That's what it appears to be on the layout that we saw. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I understand, but I personally, I believe it takes away from the historic character.
It's already on.
Other than that, and I do understand, I drove the area because I was kind of curious too, how would a above-ground pool look? But if you drive down Boston Grove Road and some of the Boston Grill, Atlantic, and that, there's several homes.
Mike, can I just interrupt you hold your thought for 1 second before you continue? I just want to make sure that before we continue discussion, I just want to make sure we have a motion and a second, and then we can continue discussion from there.
Okay.
I'd like to make the motion to deny on the basis of the fact that I believe that as far as the criteria for number one, it does take away from, it is not compatible with the historic, cultural, and design of that particular community. And so going forward with that, I think there are negative impacts, number three, to the historic property in the district. And if we go into number 2, I think that the improvement does affect the integrity of the community. So and my motion is to deny.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
The motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion from commission members? Mike, please continue.
Well, again, that was my discussion when I drove through the area. I was trying to see just how that pool would look. And from my perspective and what I drove through the area, I couldn't see the pool because it was like it was absorbed by the house. And then when I drove through, I saw several other structures in the area that's already 12 to 15 feet off the ground. And then when I learned it's above ground pool, well, it's actually, you'll never see it because it's in the, it's just kind of absorbed by the house. And then I think earlier we said that there's nothing to say that a pool cannot be in that area. But then again, I understand the historical preservation. I think I understand why. To me, it's not even on the borderline because all the homes, if there was a pool in that area on all those other homes, we would never know it because the homes are elevated to a height to where, like I said, it'll be absorbed within the structure itself. And if you ever drove through that area, it's just amazing. From mobile homes to other homes, they're all in that area about 12 to 15 feet off the ground. That's it.
Thank you, Mike.
May I speak?
Yes.
I just would like to echo what Commissioner Germain has just said. I have no reason to dispute the staff's observations about what is visible from the right-of-way and what is visible from the contributing resources. And if it's not possible to even see that there is a pool behind the home, I think it's impossible to assert that it in any way deteriorates from the historical, cultural, or architectural significance which the ordinance protects. We just had an approval of a pool basically on the same grounds, that you couldn't see it from the road, and therefore it had no impact. It's the same thing here. So I support the ability of the person to put in the pool. It's an allowed use. And again, there's no functional or aesthetic considerations, I think, that bring it into denying it on our criteria in 21.5, paragraph I.
While I respect your points, I agree, I disagree. You know, that's my privilege, and I do see it as a, not being compatible, and regardless of whether it is hidden or not, it does take away from the community historic integrity. It's in the description of the home. It's going to be sold at some point possibly, and it is relevant. So again, respectfully, I disagree.
I mean, where do we as a commission draw the line? I mean, if somebody wanted to put in a fire pit or a pool or whatever is allowed under the zoning code, they're allowed to put it in. We as a commission have to articulate how it either does not meet the substance of the ordinance, that it is detracts from the character of the area. And I fail to see that if it's not even visible, how in any way either anyone that is even passing by would even know it's there. If you don't even know it's there, I submit that it's an unfair burden to put on the property owner that they are not allowed to do something which the zoning code allows them to do for an aesthetic reason, which I fail to see this even present, for the record.
I would ask that we would vote, because that's the
Oh,
whole point.
Can I just make a comment here?
Yes.
When I look at this picture of what is proposed here, I don't see anything historic about it. And we're talking about, protecting the culture of the community. I don't see nothing here. Integrity doesn't, it's lost. And there's just no, for me, nothing that identifies historic by looking at this picture. And I know we saw two small buildings, the store and the church, that doesn't meet anything like this right here. Now, the store, yes, that's something that looks like it was abandoned, and it's been out there a long time. But you have other homes in the area that looks more in a line. I think about 3 or 4 pictures, they look like they're all more in a line with the culture. This right here is throwing everything off, starting a whole different kind of designs to me in the area if we start adopting something like this. There's nothing historic about it.
Commission members, for the record, we are only here to talk about the pool and the pool design. Then the house is not up for consideration today. Then the house, it is what it is, and the house is going forward. So we're only talking about the actual swimming pool.
What I'm discussing.
That's what
I think, can we clarify what address it is, please? Because we may be, I just want to make sure.
Will you show them on the map and where
So
this is located?
1653 Boston Grill Road.
Yeah, we'll show you the location in relation, show it in relation to the neighborhood as well. Yeah, there you go. That's a good picture.
Okay. Again, getting back, if we're just talking about the pool, I agree and I disagree. We have to take consideration the other homes in the area. And what I am alluding to, or what I'm saying, if you drive down Boston Grill Road and you look at the homes that are elevated, and there's quite a few, you got a good mixture of elevated homes, homes that were built 60s, 70s, but more of the newer homes, they're elevated above 12 to 15 feet. That's the average height. I've got a problem with this because if that pool is elevated that high, I don't see how, the house is there. And and all the homes in that area, several homes in that area look just like or similar to this one, all throughout Hamlin. And I just got a hard time saying that you can't have a pool when it won't even be seen by anyone. And maintaining the cultural integrity of Hamlin, I just don't get a good feeling to how I can start with this particular house when there's about 20 or 30 homes in the area that looks just like this one throughout Hamlin. You need to ride down, or I do agree that we need to maybe get out and see what's actually in these communities. Yes, there's I know, but there's several homes on if you ever drove down not Atlantic and the Hamlin Beach Road. If you ever drove Hamlin Beach Road, most of the homes are elevated. All of them, even the mobile homes are elevated 12 to 15 feet above the ground.
I'm not talking about the home, just like, the attorney just said. I'm talking about the pool. I'm talking about the fact that it's elevated. It is, and it is different. It's not an in-ground pool. It's different. And in my opinion, it does not support the historic significance of this community. And I have the right to make that comment. Okay? So at this point, I appreciate your discussion, but I think we should vote, and that way we can express our own intent here.
If there's no further discussion, it is now time for the vote.
On the motion to deny, Commissioner Halverson,
So this is a motion to deny.
that was
Yes, that's
Commissioner
the
Millar's
motion in the
motion.
second.
We're doing it in the negative?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, nay.
Commissioner German,
Nay.
Commissioner Johnson, Vice Chair Gardner,
Nay.
Commissioner Gerard, Commissioner Millar.
Nay.
The nays have it. The motion fails. The motion fails.
Miss,
I'm sorry, Nate, no, I agree with my motion, so that would be an aye. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Nate,
Yeah, okay.
I'm so
you
supportive of
were
this.
throwing us all off.
I'm sorry, I know I threw you there, but I
thought, wow, that was a 15 minutes.
I support my motion, so that would be aye, I'm sorry.
They shouldn't
And-
do
Wrapped up in
them in
this
a
one.
negative. It's just
Okay, the
confusing.
motion still fails.
Okay.
Mark, can I ask a question? Sure. Should there be a motion in the affirmative if we want to confirm it?
Yes, currently, when we had a motion to deny that failed, so right now there is no decision of this body. So we ask the chair to look for a new motion for the body to consider.
I'll make the motion again to deny this.
Can't
And
do that one.
it cannot be a motion to deny. Right now, we're looking for either a motion to approve or a motion to approve with conditions.
A motion to approve based on the previous motion?
No, the motion that was made to deny the application, that has failed.
Failed.
That is off the table. That can't come up again at this meeting. So we're looking for a motion of affirmative if possible, or affirmative with conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Would
Jim
move to
Basis.
approve for the record, and state that. Can you hear me?
No.
Mic went out. I move to approve because I believe it meets the 21-5I approval criteria 1 and 2. The pool, whether in-ground or out of ground, is not visible from the right-of-way or any of the contributing resources in the area. And therefore, it is compatible with the existing elements in the community. For those reasons, the third element of the criteria, 21-5I, has no application. And for those reasons, I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly approved. Is there any discussion? If there's no further discussion, it is now time to vote.
Commissioner Halverson,
Aye.
Commissioner German,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, Vice Chair Gardner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gerard, Commissioner Millar. The ayes have it. The motion passes.
This is the final decision of the Historic Preservation Commission. If any person with a substantial interest in a decision of the Historic Preservation Commission chooses to appeal this decision, they may do so to the Circuit Court of Charleston County. Such appeal shall be filed within 30 calendar days after today's date. Okay. Should we just do the 309? Okay. Missing something. Okay, the next agenda item is, it's not on here, is HIST 05-25-00-139.
This certificate of historic appropriateness request is for the construction of a single-family detached dwelling unit with drive-under parking at TMS 577-00-00-146, 1474 Boston Grill Road, a property within the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District. Since the designation of the Hamlin Beach community as a Charleston County Historic District, 2 applications for certificates of historic appropriateness have been received to date. The Hamlin Beach community was recently adopted by Charleston County as a locally designated historic district on January 14, 2025, covering roughly 293 acres at adoption. Founded on former plantation land, the community was established in 1881 when land was subdivided into 30 10-acre lots sold to prior enslaved individuals. Here's the location of the subject property when looking at the county as a whole. This map shows the subject property's location off Boston Grill Road in the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District. This map shows the property's location within the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District. There have been no approved certificates of historic appropriateness application within 500 feet of the subject property. The applicant is proposing to construct a 5,380 square foot, 2-story, single-family detached dwelling unit with drive-under parking on the vacant property at 1474 Boston Grill Road. The total impervious surface coverage for the lot will be 25.15%. The subject property is zoned Special Management S3 and is undeveloped. The future land use designation is Urban Suburban Cultural Community Protection. Surrounding properties to the east, south, and west are zoned S3 and contain single-family dwelling units or are undeveloped. Properties to the north are in the town of Mount Pleasant and contain single-family dwelling units or are undeveloped. The subject parcel is in the shaded X flood zone. Here is an aerial view of the subject property. This is a photo of the subject property off Boston Grill Road. These are photos of the surrounding properties at 1470 and 1480 Boston Grill Road. And this is a photo of the closest contributing resource at 1495 Boston Grill Road. This structure is the oldest home in the community, built in 1935. The home was recently renovated. This map shows the nearby contributing resources of 1495 Boston Grill Road and the cow shelter and pasture with wire and tin fencing. The contributing resource properties are outlined in blue. This is the proposed site plan showing the floor plan on the lot. This is the aerial map with the proposed site plan overlaid for context. These are the proposed front and rear elevations and the proposed left and right elevations. Staff response to the first criteria is this area of Hamlin Beach Community Historic District along Boston Grill Road contains homes ranging from 958 to almost 5,200 square feet. The proposed home size at 5,380 square feet is just outside of the existing range. Although many current homes are single-story bungalows, ranches, and manufactured housing units, the proposed home is a raised 2-story, which is in line with the preferences of contemporary homeowners. The style of the proposed home is different than those already existing within the Hamlin Beach community with its double front porches, square columns, and standing seam metal roof. Homes in this flood zone are not required to be elevated, although there are examples of homes on Hamlin Sound where it is required. Drive-under garages are not common in this area, but there are instances on Boston Grill Road and Hamlin Beach Road. Staff response to the second criteria is the nearest contributing resource to the subject property is the residence at 1495 Boston Grill Road. This home is the oldest home in the community, built in 1935, and is at least 560 feet away. Because the proposed home is situated on a flag lot of almost an acre more than 450 feet from Boston Grill Road, it will not be visible from the contributing resource. This factor makes it unlikely that the proposed site alterations will affect or lessen the historic integrity of the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District or the nearby contributing resource. Staff response to the third criteria is that there are no negative impacts to the Hamlin Beach Community Historic District have been identified, therefore the criterion has been met. Based on the applicant's responses, we believe the application meets the approval criteria. Therefore, staff recommends approval with the following condition: that all major changes shall be processed pursuant to Section 21-5M, modifications to approve certificates of historic appropriateness of the Historic Preservation Ordinance. No comments in support or opposition were received. One general comment regarding trees and privacy was received. This meeting was noticed as required. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. We appreciate the staff's comprehensive report. Are there any questions for staff from commission members? Hearing none, we will now hear public comment.
We had one speaker sign up, Craig Askew.
Please come forward. You have 2 minutes for comments. Please state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Craig Askew, 987 Gadsdenville Road, Owendale, South Carolina. I am here in support of this project. This young man sitting right here, this fine gentleman, is a Citadel grad. He is my cousin, grew up in 4 Mile. He is a National Guard, Citadel, what else? Come on. He's a basket weaver as well. He is germane to this whole Gullah Geechee East Cooper community. He and his wife have 3 children. Allison, they have, she is a PhD in the field of geriatrics, health administration and geriatrics. Yes, this young man has a master's degree in what? Huh? You do have a master's degree. I taught you. Gosh, you're awful. Anyway, I support him and this project. It is a bit large, but y'all can deal with that. But I do support the project. He will be a great addition. He and the property will be a great addition to the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Is this our second speaker?
He didn't sign up to speak.
You didn't sign up to
okay.
speak. He's the applicant. He's the applicant.
I think Craig can speak for him.
All right, if we have no more speakers, the case is now closed to public comment. Before any further discussion, is there a motion and second from the commission? Please, when making your motion, please indicate the specific approval criteria.
I make a motion to approve, based on 1, 2, and 3. The proposed site are compatible with the historical, cultural, and architectural character of the applied historical property of historic district based on
The designation by council.
Designation by council. Again, all 3, and any negative impacts to the applicable historical property or historical district have been minimized or mitigated.
I'll second.
The motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion from commission members?
I would just like to add that while the home is larger, and the style is different. It is in a flag lot, and because of the flag lot, it's not visible from the right-of-way or any contributing resources.
Any further discussion from commission members? If there's no further discussion,
Go ahead, Neil. This particular house, to me, does not. Okay, all right. This design of the house, to me, does not seem to be in line with what we have been presented with here. The looks of it and the wraparound porch, I don't know if it was a way that he could have make some adjustments to make the house look more like what is already in the area. I don't think I could support it the way it is.
Follow up on Ms. Johnson, again, 5,380 square feet, in my opinion, does not represent what this community has established. I think it's interesting that Mr. Askew went against the original applicant, and then this home is, for whatever reason, it meets the criteria at over 5,000 square feet. So I also do not agree with it.
Well, I got some comments to make on this too. Again, I know we've all took that windshield tour through all the Gullah Geechee communities, but, and this is just what I do, prior to all the hearings we have, I either go in that community or drive through or speak to someone in that community. More specifically, when I went through Hamlin community, it took me a long time to find that location because it's way off the beaten path. There's nothing else back there. But in driving through the Hamlin community, you got to drive the entire community from Hamlin Road to Boston Grill. There's multiple variations of different style homes. Some of them have porches on the front, some of them have closed in, but some of the common threads in the new house, they're all elevated. I don't know if that's a requirement or by design, because once you turn off of 17 to drive down Hamlin Road, and we're not even in the Hamlin community, to your right and left, all of those homes now being built seems to be elevated at the 12 to 15 feet height. So that's a common thing to see once you're in the area, and it's hard for me to say that it's not a shotgun house, it's not a Jim Walters house, it's not a brick or block house. It's just, I think it adds to the character of the community than kind of taken away, because it's kind of hard for me to tell a younger person whose home style is not going to be like my house, but I don't want it, it's not like it's such an abstract to where it's a gingerbread house, a house that look like a boot, but it's an updated version of what the younger people are going to need or require. So in taking that in consideration and the location of this house is so far off the beaten path, I'd be afraid to drive down his road or walk down his road at night to get to it. So it's shielded for number one. And again, if you look at all the homes in that area, you can't look at just the old, and then you got to look at all the homes in there. The Freeman's on the back side of that. His home is probably over 5,000 square. There's some pretty large homes in the Hamlin community, and they're all elevated if you ever drive down there. You got to drive and see. because it sticks out like a sore thumb. You got this one, and you got the home on the ground. It's kind of hard to balance it because they're all intertwined. So that's my reason for approving that. Yeah, it's a little bit large, but it's not as if it's, I don't even know how I try to compare it with some of the ones on the end of Boston Grill, but then throughout the community. If you drive through that, it won't be, even on 17, William German, my cousin, he's got a big 2-story house right there on the middle of 17. It's rather large, but it's on a big lot, so it's kind of absorbed by that. And then you got next to him, his family member's got a double-wide trailer, so it's kind of hard for me to manage that. But if it falls in with the county's guidelines and there's no restrictions in place by the Hamlin community in terms of their historical appropriateness or anything that's going to limit the size of a home or how big the home. I never seen anything like that yet. It's kind of hard to say that because it's a little bit bigger, it won't be allowed. Because it has a wraparound porch, it won't be allowed. Most of us got back porches that's it's pretty large, but it's just the style of the house. And I think we need to kind of take a look at the bigger picture and trying to make sure that we still stay in accordance with what's required under the historical preservation. I'm going to say appropriateness, but we can't just be tunnel vision and not seeing growth or seeing some changes, because my grandchildren will probably never build the house that I've got on the property that I have in historical districts. So, and we're not trying to diminish what's already been established, but at the same time, I think you got to think forward in terms of what some of these younger people would want, and we got to kind of make this document grow to make sure that we're not pushing them away. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. I also might add that having already established the motion that we'll vote on shortly, I do think it does meet the criteria, and I do think that any negative impacts have been minimized and mitigated. It is larger than they indicate there was, I think 5,200 was the largest that was there. This is just a little outside of that. So it is a little bit larger, but they have indicated that they're going to maintain the trees. It's on a flag lot. You can't see it from the road there. And so I think that based on these 3 criteria that it does meet the standards under that need to be met. So that's why I'm going to approve it. Are there any other remarks from commissioners?
How big is the house at 1480 Boston Grill? The brick house next to it, or somewhere in the vicinity of it? Yeah.
I don't have that with me.
Yeah, I mean, were these larger houses that are the 5,200 square foot one, were these ones that were added to over time, or are they newer construction that just recently came up?
I believe the 1480 is a newer construction. I'm not sure about 1470.
And approved 1480, so that must have been before.
Right, yeah, because it was just
Definitely before our
approved
time
in
period.
January.
Yeah, this is a brand-new district. So you saw the very first case earlier today.
I remember driving by that house as well, thinking how big it was.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, it is now time for the vote.
Commissioner Halverson? Commissioner German?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson? Vice Chair Gardner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gerard?
Nay.
Commissioner Millar?
Nay.
So it is a tie.
That means it fails.
Okay. It's failed.
Under our new rules, it gets deferred to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Good thing we passed those last month.
That is correct.
It's deferred, yeah. That's all right.
So we will see this case again next month, and we'll be presenting the same application unless the applicant decides to change anything. We'll let you know, but we will hopefully have a full quorum because we have an even number and today and with only 6 members. So hopefully with 9, we'll be able to get a decision one way or another next month. Okay?
Okay. All right, if there is no further business, this meeting, oh, go ahead.
Yes, there is. Madam, I need to make a correction. When we voted on the minutes, I said that I wasn't here. I was incorrect. I was here.
Okay, so
Okay.
And
do you want to change your?
I want to change my vote to the affirmative. And I noticed that on the list of who were present, my name was not on that list.
Oh,
Oh, in the minutes?
Yeah, kind of, just look over that again. I was just kind of scanning through, but, so that would be
Yeah.
an amendment.
If
Yeah.
you're not in there, what, if you want to make a motion that you be added to the minutes
Okay.
and then approve the minutes,
All right?
right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I make a motion that we amend the minutes to include Anna Johnson present, and then also to change my vote from abstaining to accepting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh, and a second, real quick, just to clean it up. Does everybody agree?
Second.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. Everyone say aye?
Aye.
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 All right, now we got it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any additional business? If there is no further business, this meeting of the Charleston County Historic Preservation Commission stands adjourned.
Thank you.
The commission will hold its next regularly scheduled meeting on